working through this thought experiment of merging the personal finance and FIRE movements with the Bitcoin movement, it reminded me of this presentation that I saw last year. I went down to El Salvador to the Adopting Bitcoin conference. And those conferences are great. I really like going to Bitcoin conferences. I would consider myself a Bitcoin maxi, but I think this was the first. This was one of many talks that I attended while I was there. And I think this was the first one that really kind of like started to nudge me out of my comfort zone. So as a Bitcoiner, the comfort zone is, all of the talking points that you hear on all of the other Bitcoin channels, like it's better money, end the Fed, it's 21 million, it's a hard cap, it's the hardest money known to mankind. All of the all of the talking points, which I'm in agreement with. But what this guy, David Bailey, who's the chief marketing officer at Azteco, which is a service that I can explain in a couple of minutes, that's really kind of helping to bridge this gap between, the way I see it, between personal finance and Bitcoin. And so he gave this presentation that I felt was like, man. So as I've been kind of engaging with this idea myself and really working through it, my wife and I are sort of we're in the middle of working through this ourselves. We would, I think we've reached the point, and to David Bailey's point during the discussion or during the presentation, is that we've reached the innovators and the early adopters. I think part of the problem with the Bitcoin ecosystem is most of that messaging is from innovators and early adopters. And so the argument that he's making, and this is his presentation, I'll link the video presentation in the description below so you can go watch that. So I'm just kind of, I'm using his slides essentially. But essentially he says between that early market, which is about 15% of the market, there are innovators, early adopters, but then the next phase of adoption is the early majority, and there's always a chasm between the early market, the innovators, early adopters, and then that early majority. And so one of the ways that he goes through and explains it in this presentation is he kind of walks through the mindset of early adopters by some of the things that they say. And this will resonate with you guys, those of you guys that are Bitcoiners. They'll say things like, hey, I'm interested in the technology. I'm interested in what I can do with it. I'm happy with minimal features. I'm happy to help make it work, to contribute. I think open source is good. I want total privacy. I value the ideology of Bitcoin. Investing, stacking, hodling, Bitcoin is freedom. Some of those things that I said before, we're all used to hearing those things. But the early majority, that chasm that we have to cross as Bitcoiners, as we're kind of, taking this protocol to the next level of adoption, the early majority has a completely different mindset. So that's characterized in them saying things like, hey, I'm interested in the utility. I'm interested in what it can do for me. I want the whole solution. I want it to work out of the box. I think open source is a nightmare. I want ease of use. I value the usefulness of Bitcoin. Spending, saving, sending. Bitcoin is for every bit of life. So I think that really kind of gives a voice to what we've been talking about, myself and Brian Harrington and other, Bitcoiners that are really trying to bridge this gap between personal finance and Bitcoin and make it, part of our everyday lives. There are a couple of other things that he goes through, and I'm gonna put together a much more cogent presentation of this idea as I'm kind of thinking through these things. But I just wanted to, kind of share this as, just a short video to kind of get the juices flowing. I think for us as Bitcoiners, especially, for me as a financial coach, this is something that I've mentioned in past videos. This is something I've really struggled with over the past, 10 plus years is, all right, how do I talk about this? Because in the past, I would say up until maybe the last few years, even if you mention Bitcoin to somebody that is more of a personal finance, has a general, more TradFi personal finance mentality, if you mention Bitcoin, that automatically puts you in, the category of like network marketing or being a scammer or, trying to launch an ICO or any of those things. So it's been much less favorable. I would say that now, especially since Bitcoin is much more mainstream, we have ETFs, we have MicroStrategy that's issuing stock, we have covered call ETFs. It's become very integrated into the sinews of the traditional financial landscape. So I think now is the time for us as Bitcoiners, especially, to start changing our vocabulary a little bit. It's not that we're forsaking our early adopter mentality or our early adopter, principles. Those are still very, very much intact. But I think the audiences that we're speaking to don't care about the ideology of Bitcoin. They don't care about investing, stacking, hodling. They don't want to go outside of their comfort zone and have to download a bunch of, different solutions and softwares and kind of, jankily kind of put those things together. They're looking for more of an all-in-one solution. They're looking for things like, hey, I can go pay with Bitcoin at Steak and Shake, or I can basically use, I know Jack, what's his name from Twitter, Jack Dorsey is launching as part of Square. I believe it's in process where they're actually going to be able to use Bitcoin at point of sale with the Square ecosystem. So I think that the utility, the usefulness of Bitcoin, ease of use, not talking about open source and all of that. I think just kind of moving some of those talking points, I think, is really going to be huge. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. I know some of the content, some of the feedback that I've gotten with some of my other videos is that one guy said this, like mixing oil and water, personal finance and Bitcoin. I'm assuming that's what he means. So there are going to be a lot of naysayers. I get it. But if you're either on the personal side or a fire side of the ecosystem or Bitcoin, I just want for us to be able to come together to bring this as a monetary solution, as a monetary technology, as a way to escape the inflationary environment of these national currencies and just make life better for everybody. That's really it. So love to know your thoughts in the comments. I've got a few affiliate offers for the Fold card and the Gemini card. There's a training that I'm coming up with right now on how to use those two instruments in your everyday personal finance to start stacking free sats. So whether you're not in Bitcoin at all and you're just kind of scoping it out and you just want to get some free sats so that you can kind of start dipping your toe into it without it costing you anything. Or if you're a Bitcoiner and most of us, if not all of us, still live on a fiat standard and you're like, hey, I really would love to start stacking some extra sats for dollars or fiat currency that I'm already spending. So links to those are in the description below. Like, share, subscribe. See you in the next video.